Morality. You know, killing and stuff.
We constantly use it in our lives, yet most of us have very little idea of what it actually is. Good and bad seem to differ for each of us, but there do seem to be some moral absolutes which most of us accept.
For instance, killing is widely regarded as wrong, yet no one seems to be able to say why. Then again, so is insta-locking. But to be fair, that is just not okay. Oh, come on, don't. Oh, for fuck's...
What makes something the right action for someone seems to relate to their upbringing and influences around them.
For a soldier, killing is often a weekly event, whereas for a pacifist, it's an absolute moral wrong. Is this because the soldier comes from a tougher background, or is it just built into people's nature? Maybe what makes something wrong is that it just doesn't benefit us. If you had just taken an exam which you'd basically completely screwed over, you may think the examiners were wrong to set that paper. Yet in reality all they did was do their jobs and completely ignore the specification. Just like a certain S1 exam. I mean, the fuck is that shit? Okay, since when could you code PMC? The fact that something as integral to our decision making could be so subjective is worrying.
And many great philosophers have attempted to come up with a prescriptive account of morality.
However, it does also need to fit in with how we use it in daily life. In other words, be descriptive. It would be no good having morality that told us stealing was wrong. But as a consequence, we had to worship a cow called Daisy by sacrificing babies in a bull pit while playing a ukulele. Yeah, I'm not kidding. That was my teacher's example. Fucking dead babies.
Many philosophers tried to do this. Firstly, there was Hume. Kind of like that one annoying friend everyone just wishes would go away because they point out the flaws in everything you do. Next was Descartes, the guy who locked himself in a room to think. Socrates, the Jon Snow of philosophy. And Friedrich Nietzsche, the genius madman who went mute for 10 years.
There are two leading theories though. Utilitarianism and Kant's categorical imperative.
The former looks more at the consequences of an action, whereas the latter looks at the intentions.
Utilitarianism states that a good action is the one that maximizes the well-being of sentient beings. Founded by Jeremy Bentham, in order to work out the good choice from the bad, you simply take the sum of all the pleasures on the action, then minus all suffering resulting from it.
And Bentham even proposed a way to do this, his hedonic calculus. It really does not work.
It does seem to have a number of benefits. Not only does it take into account your interests, but also others.
Moreover, there are no absolutes. This means you have to look at each situation holistically. That basically just means evaluate each one as it comes. And many argue that that fits with what we do anyway in daily life.
It also has the benefit of making a phantom assassin pick wrong. The suffering it causes to the other team.
Phantom, stop being phantom, no!
Guys, fucking don't let IO defend me.
Clearly outweighs any joy you receive. You total twat.
So yeah, that's good, right? There is one major problem with this theory. It could, in certain scenarios, justify actions which seem intuitively morally wrong. The example posed to Singer, a leading advocate for this theory, was dogfighting. It seems unjustifiable to most, but utilitarianism could in theory support it. Say that there are nearly 100 people organising it or taking part of it in some way, and they all absolutely love it. In fact, they couldn't get this pleasure from any other activity and they've tried. No one else other than these people know that this activity is happening, so it doesn't actually cause them any suffering. The only beings that suffer from this activity are the dogs themselves. Yet surely 2 or 3 dogs are outweighed by 100 people being happy. This is the case, and for this theory that means that this event is morally good. The problem highlighted here is that this theory does not respect the rights of individuals. Now, Singer did try to argue that such an event would affect the minds of those involved negatively, so therefore would affect society in a bad way, and this could in theory outweigh the happiness of those involved. But his defense was not very successful, as there's no guarantee that this would happen. People argue over this theory's success, and there are many grey areas. If you take the case of the Twin Towers as an example, this theory allows the place to be shot down before hitting the buildings. This is a morally good action. The lifetime of happiness of the thousands saved outweigh the seconds of life lost by those in the plane shot down. In fact, in 2005, the Bundesverwaltungsgericht passed the Luftsicherheitsgesetz in Germany, and in one of the clauses it's allowed the You know what? Fuck German. It allowed the German Air Force to shoot down a hijacked plane if it was going to be a threat to the people on the ground.
Now, if you're anything like me,
a complete skeptic who's lost all hope on society, you'll probably find that such a legislation makes sense. However, in 2006 the
Bundesverfassungsgericht
decided to strike down that provision as it didn't respect the constitutional right to human life and dignity. This seemed to embody Kant's theory. In short, it goes like this.
morality is a set of maxims which can be universally applied without self-contradiction, or without treating people simply as a means to an end. Moreover, he thinks morality is strongly linked to rationality, i.e. disobeying any of these maxims is irrational. He even goes further, saying that we can use pure reason to work out what these laws are.
Although most of us see certain actions as intuitively wrong, it is hard to see how they are logical contradictions. But don't worry, many great minds have struggled to grasp this concept, so I'll go slowly. Kant argues that being rational involves being able to recognize universal rules, such as logic and maths, and that they apply to us. However, it is irrational to think that logic must apply to everyone else. But for me, something cannot both exist and not exist at the same time, for example. Ignore that. The reason for this is that no rational being can accept rules which they know are contradictory. For Kant, this rationality applies to morality. It is okay to kill those who annoy me is an easy, ish example. Here's why. If we accept this principle, then we must rationally accept that it's okay for anyone to kill us if we annoy them. But this is contradictory. You are essentially accepting that you, a rational being, should be able to will your own will away. That's like saying, I want to be able to make choices, and one of them is that others should be able to take my choice away. But then you both want to make choices and want others to take that away from you. It doesn't make any logical sense. Probably one of the most frustrating things any philosophy student can learn is this concept, so it may take some thinking. It is slightly flawed though, as in it literally allows people to die, as it does seem too prescriptive of an account. In other words, it doesn't fit with how we make moral choices on a daily basis. One example put forward against this theory asks what you would do if a murderer turned up at your door looking for an innocent victim hidden in your house. Kant argues that lying to the murderer would be morally wrong, as lying is also an absolute moral wrong, like murder. Yet this surely seems absurd. If the murderer asked, you have to tell him where the victim is. You can't prevent it. Lying would be wrong. Yet this surely seems absurd. If ever there was a time when lying was a moral obligation, it is surely now. It can't get any worse for this theory. In fairness, Kant actually seemed to respond to this fairly well, though many do disagree with his answer. He argues that lies do not do any wrongdoing to anyone else, such as the murderer, as it is your choice what information you do or don't reveal. Moreover, as words aren't a coercive act, as people do not have to believe you, in situations such as the example above you are not wronging them, as you are not forcing anyone to do anything. However, Kant does argue that you are doing a general wrong by lying to the murderer. You wrong humanity. You are making a condition of rightful interaction impossible in principle, as you are undermining the trust needed for any basic interaction. It got worse. Lying doesn't wrong the murderer. It wrongs humanity now. Fucking perfect. Well, that about sums it up. Well, two of the many theories at least. These accounts are prescriptive, that is, they are trying to tell us what morality should be, not how we actually use it. And it may be impossible to come up with a flawless model of morality, or someone may manage it. Morality may turn out to be irrelevant, or it may become the foremost topic of our generation, and it does seem to be heading towards the latter. We spend our whole lives trying to define right from wrong. Is it okay for us to ignore objective truths in favour of subjective feelings? Are there universal rules which should be enforced, or do each of us have the right to drive our own road through life in accordance with how we feel fit? If so, does the individual's decision come first, or society? What makes one opinion right and another wrong? Is it based on power, or religion, or logic? Do these questions even have answers, or are they meaningless? What we know at least is that they have captivated some of the greatest minds to have ever lived. Hurtling through space at 67,000 miles per hour, on a tiny rock with a little bit of water and some carbon, we evolved. And after thousands of generations, thousands of battles, and thousands of deaths, here we are, wondering whether a few words said or a single motion of a hand is right. If how we define ourselves and our morality matters. No other animal has ever done this, and we may be the only ones who ever will.
Because of this, I think the argument that morality does not exist is inherently wrong. We are the only part of the universe which, thinks. We are its consciousness, and because of that, our actions must matter. Despite the scale, the vastness, the complexity, We make the only self-evaluated decisions within the whole universe. Well, at least that part which we have observed. How can this not be important?